Hello, I'm Giselle Gamby, host of the Intuitive Pool podcast and business and life coach. My coaching business has consistently brought in $500,000 in revenue for the past 10 years, not from any external strategy, but from being the intuitive entrepreneur. Having worked strategy first, as most people do, with little results, I know that authenticity is profitable, and the deeper you go, the greater your wealth always. And so this podcast is here for you if you desire more, deserve more, and are called into more in relation to your wellness and purpose, business and career, finances, relationships, and health. If you're stuck, feel like you've lost your mojo, and equally if you're doing really well, but you know that you and your life could be so much bigger, so much more purposeful, and so much more impactful. Join myself and my guests as we explore 2024's theme, Untapped Abundance. I love creating ripples, and so here's to creating even more ripples this year for this wonderful intuitive pool community. Welcome, Suzie, one of my most favourite people in the world.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back again.
Yay! So Suzie is responsible for one of the most listened to episodes on the Intuitive Pool podcast. I did an interview with Suzie on the 5th of July, 2022. And the title of that episode is To the One Who Feels Less Than. And yeah, it's one of the most listened to episodes. So obviously that theme spoke to people. Suzie is also an author. She's the author of a published book called The Untangling, which is an incredible, incredible book. She is the author of an almost to be published book called Musings of a Menopausal Insomniac Crazy Dog Lady. And she is the author of a screenplay, which I don't know the name of that screenplay, what that is.
Well, actually, I'm a co-writer, so I do have a screenplay buddy.
Okay.
It's going to be called The Untangling, funnily enough.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So as you can see, Suzie is super duper creative and yeah, someone who I've known for quite a few years and is so committed to untangling anything that is wrapped up in fear and judgment and bringing it all back to nothing but left but love, which words that I use often, but they're actually Suzie's words, nothing left but love. So I really felt called to invite Suzie back on the podcast. I actually don't know for what reason. I don't know where we're going. I don't know what it's in service to yet. But as we could see from the, one of the most popular episodes, To the One Who Feels Less Than, we definitely catalyzed something then. And we catalyzed something for a certain type of person. So let's see what we're catalyzing here and for whom that is this time round.
I'm up for that.
Yay.
I love not knowing.
I know you do. So I don't want to stay here because we that was the purpose of the previous episode or our first interview. But can you just give us a little bit of a snapshot as to why we even recorded an episode called To the One Who Feels Less Than?
Sure. And I was actually thinking today, I should have listened to it again because it's been a little while. I think for me, it was a theme that I see a lot, especially with women, because I've worked with women more than I have with men. I love men, nothing wrong with them, but I'm just saying. So I understand a lot of the way we think and the way that we act. And especially women from the era, around the era that I grew up in, where, we had a different role back then. We had a different place in society, in culture and families. Coming out of after World War II, women started working more in the eras that I was born in. Everything kind of changed, but what I found was a common theme amongst the women around me, my friends or clients, was that a lot of them felt like they didn't have a voice, and a lot of them felt that they were invisible. And I didn't realize how common it was. And, a lot of it goes to your self-esteem, self-confidence. But as I said back then, I would be in a room and just feel like I was totally invisible. And I spent most of my life like that. So I guess I just felt that it was something that a lot of people could relate to, but also at the same time, as you said, not staying there, of how to untangle from that and find a freedom that they possibly never had, which is what I did.
And how did you do that? I know that's a big question or a big answer.
Oh, how did I do it? Well, I guess with writing the first book, that really helped, because that for me was the most cathartic process, and also a way of really, for once in my life, really stopping and looking at my life and the trajectory that I'd taken, the path, the choices that I'd made, and understand why I did what I did and where it came from, which of course was, our childhoods, looking back at all of that stuff, and just realizing that I get to choose the path instead of being powerless, that I can make choices and choose the path that I want to follow. Only me, only I can do that. So it was a lot of taking responsibility for that and getting to know myself all over again. For the first time, probably, I really felt or feel now that I know myself more and I understand myself more. So I guess it was through that process being able to share it so others could have that experience and not feel stuck or unhappy in their lives.
So your writing was actually never planned to be a book?
No, absolutely no.
Did you ever think you were going to be an author?
No.
It wasn't something you dreamt of?
No, no. I mean, I think I was thinking about this, and I do remember as a child, I loved to read a lot. We read a lot, mainly because we weren't allowed to watch a lot of television, so we read a lot. And I did love creative writing when I was younger. Before, you get at a certain age in high school or whatever, when they make you do all the boring stuff like book reports on things like Shakespeare or all that stuff that I didn't really understand. But no, it stopped there. And then it started again in my late 50s. So,
And so when did you know that it was going to become a book? Because you were just writing for yourself. You were untangling everything that you had not acknowledged and seen and felt, and until you returned it all back to love. When did you know that this is actually a book?
well, I could be some wise woman that I shared it with who reflected it back at me. When I was writing it was a journal. It was just pouring out my emotions and feelings and going on through the process of untangling that way. And then, and then I thought about, maybe there is something here. Maybe this is a way for me to serve, like maybe this could help someone. And then interviewing, then I decided that it's such a common theme amongst people. We all, not just saying not everyone, I didn't have a terrible childhood. It's not like that. It's just that we're all shaped by events that happen to us when we're children, and by the beliefs around us, the belief systems of our families, school, society. We can't not be. So I thought, well, if I was able to find peace through this process, that maybe it might just help one person out there. And I think that's when I realised it could be a book.
And so we know that it has helped many people. Can you, without breaking confidentiality, can you share probably one of your most proud moments of the impact that this book has had on the readers?
Oh, I think one of the moments was a lady contacted me that, I don't know, she found me over social media or something like that. I can't exactly remember, but we kept in touch. She came up here to the Gold Coast and I went and had coffee with her. And she bought the book and she said to me, you have no idea the impact that this has had on me, because it could have been my story that you wrote. And knowing that you were able to find peace and forgiveness, I think forgiveness is the biggest thing, has really encouraged me to look at this too, and find my own peace. So I think that was like, oh, that was everything.
Yeah.
It was never about making money, because certainly being an author is not, for anyone who's thinking about it, it's not an easy thing, and it's, an investment, but that was worth it. That was enough.
Yeah. So we spoke on, as I said, the 5th of July, 2022, and that was when the Untangling, the first book, it was around then that it was published. Is that right? Have I got my dates right?
April, it got published.
Okay, of that year.
Day or something around there, yeah.
Yeah. So what's happened since then to now? Like, are you a different person? Like, who have you become?
I've definitely changed. Obviously, there's elements about me that are the same. I'm just as kooky, and
yes.
But I think what's changed for me is it's just brought a huge lightness to my life. It's allowed me to have more fun and not take myself too seriously, not get caught up so much in things that are going on around me, other people's expectations. So it's just a more joyful, lighter way of being. Like, life's not perfect. None of us have perfect lives.
Nope.
It has its ups and downs, but I think the way I view the world is probably the biggest thing. I don't have to get involved in everything that's going on around me. I can choose to stay in my lovely bubble, of happiness.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest change over
Yeah.
the 2 years. Finding my place in the world more, I think.
Oh, I love that.
That's, obviously through working with you, directly, and then in the Sacred Leadership group that I've had the absolute privilege to be part of for nearly 12 months, being around like-minded people more. And I think that's really important. It's like your tribe. It's being around people who understand you is so important, because you feel accepted, So I don't feel invisible anymore.
No, you don't. And I actually love, I think we've found the title of this episode and the purpose of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it's finding my place in the world. You found your place in the world. You didn't have a place, hadn't found your place in the world in 2022, even though you'd written the book. I think that was a time of healing, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And then since then, having seen the joy that you've received from all of your creative projects, from your life being about one of forgiveness, then culminating into a life where there is nothing left but love, to then creating space for lightness and fun, and the choice that you don't have to be involved in everything, and you can be in your bubble of happiness, and you have the absolute right to choose to be happy. In fact, one of the things that I wrote before when you were speaking was, so I felt like I was kind of in your head and imagining what you might say to yourself. And I wrote, I've realized I'm more powerful than I thought I was. And I have a happier life than I ever expected.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
I think so. Yeah, I think, I remember at one point, probably around the start of menopause or whatever it was,
Yes.
when I was feeling that I had empty nest and all of that stuff that you go through if you have kids. I remember asking myself that question, what makes me happy? And I couldn't answer it. And that was horrible.
Wow.
And, I was going through like a depression or anxiety, whatever. That's how I was feeling. I just found that incredibly sad. That I had a beautiful family and friends and everything around me, but it was that inside stuff that I didn't have.
Mm.
And yeah, that's not me anymore.
No, definitely not you. We call Susie's full name is Suzie de Jonge. We call her Suzie de Joy. And one of the things that you recently did was you were asked to be a guest facilitator at a retreat for people who have had cancer. You were invited by Dr. Carol Haddad and pranic energy healer Sammy Howard. And you came in because one of the other things that you are, because I haven't actually introduced the whole of you, you're also a coach. You're also an RTT practitioner. RTT stands for
Rapid
rapid.
transformational therapy.
Thank
So
you.
yes, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. Yes, that session, felt so honoured to be in that space with these beautiful people and very conscious of what what they were experiencing. And I was asked to sort of speak about journaling and how it could help them. I mean, I never journaled before I worked with you ever, and I took them through a session of really connecting in with their joy, like finding a joyful moment in their life. It could have been when they were a child, it could have been, the first time they fell in love, birth of baby, it could have been a great party or, anything, achieving a degree or travel, so that they could really keep calling on that, when things became challenging, they could, through this process of the therapy, take themselves back to that feeling, because that's what your body needs to heal, is to take you to that time where you feel these beautiful emotions. So yes, I hope that it helped. I really had a great time, and yeah, it was a great privilege.
So beautiful. So yeah, so precious actually. So there's another thing about Suzie that I love and that we've shared as well is that I think you're a more devoted student than I have been to A Course in Miracles, because is this your second or third round that
It's
you're
my
on?
third round.
Your third round. So I've not been diligently.
It takes time.
It does take time. So and I know that your Course in Miracles work has been a major factor for who you are today. And that is someone who, in my observation of you, who is in absolute faith, no matter what happens. And yeah, sure, you might have thoughts and feelings and, concern or, sadness, or of course, I mean, you wouldn't be human if you didn't have those things, and you'd be a robot. And no, that's not the point of being human. And there's such a faith that runs through your world.
Yeah.
That's how you really hold life that way. And also, potentially through the writing, the journaling, it was never meant to be anything other than for you, and then it becoming a book, and then, creating so many miracles also in your life and outside of your life with the readers. I see you as someone who there's no other way to live but from a place of surrender.
Totally now. I do that now. I never used to.
So can you give me and the audience your two most favorite, most impactful A Course in Miracles lessons? It doesn't have to be word for word as the lesson says it, but the message.
Well, I think we were talking about one of these before we started today, and that was realizing that we have no control over our lives. Like, things are going to unfold as they're supposed to. And I was always trying to control. I think that's where a lot of my anxiety came from, that I had all my life, which I didn't realize. But I was trying to control the future, and you can't. So by doing that, by living on, there's a famous quote, I can't remember who wrote it. If you're living in the past, you have anxiety. This isn't verbatim. If you're living in the future, you have depression or something like that. Maybe it's the other way around. And when I And I think it was this third time it's really hit me during these Marianne Williamson video series of one lesson a day for the whole year, because something happened to me this week where situations happen and I've got absolutely no control over it. And just allowing that to be, and just to have faith and trust. And I'm not religious. I don't go to church. I guess I classify myself now as a spiritual person, believing that, there's more than us. We're here because we were created. So letting go of that, needing to know, and just having trust and faith. I think that was probably the second biggest one. The first biggest one was judgment. And I think seeing the innocence in people. So someone does something that upsets you or hurts you, or, and I know there's terrible things that happen in the world, so I'm not being flippant or light about this, but just for an example, you have a friend that said something really hurtful to you. And now every time you think of that, you get angry or you retaliate, but it's a practice. Don't get me wrong, it's not always easy. But seeing that was just a mistake, that doesn't define who that person is. We've all got stuff going on in our lives. Maybe, that's just one example. Someone says something, but you don't know what's going on for them. We don't know what's going on for other people in their lives. We just presume and we assume, make snap judgments. So I think it's taught me to not judge as often. I mean, we're human, we do. But to try and see that person's just like me, we're all alike. And just to have a bit more compassion for them and for me, I guess. So there are a few things that I've learned. I think one of the lines is, and it says God, but you replace that with whatever word. God doesn't need you to say, police the universe for him. Got that one tied up by himself.
That
I
is
love
a classic.
That
is a classic.
Yeah. He doesn't need you to sit in judgment of people and all that. He's got it covered. He, she, they.
Non-gender, non-binary.
The universe has got it covered. So that's what I mean about not having to get involved and caught up. I mean, there's so much horrible stuff going on out in the world.
Yeah.
And I just choose not to now.
Yeah.
Get involved in that.
Yeah. And just take care of your own house, if you like.
Yeah, and my own energy, because I'm no good to anyone around me if I'm all caught up in that. I haven't had a situation with this company that I work for that I was telling you, it's just gone into liquidation overnight.
Yeah.
I've worked as being part of a contractor there for 6 years, and there's a lot of upset people. Obviously, all of them. And I've tried to look at it, people are angry, but I'm trying to look at it from the point of view was that the owners of that business, the company, they're losing something too. They're to be compassionate for what they're going through, and also spreading the love with the people that are feeling the pain. Because I've had quite a lot of feedback. People go, I just want to be around you because, I'm fine. I just need your lightness near me. I've had a few phone calls, and so yeah, it's really nice. So
talk about a beautiful place to actually practice all that you've learned and integrate it with A Course in Miracles, because when a company goes into liquidation, as you said, all the anger and powerlessness and rife with judgment, and there's Suzie, grace on legs. So what would you say is your sacred leadership?
I guess to be an example of what we can achieve if we're willing to take responsibility, like you've always said, of yourself and your place in the world. But to also let people know life doesn't have to be so heavy. It's okay to just let go and have fun. And I'm serious when I need to be serious. I just find it such a better way of living and a happier way of living. And yeah, so I think maybe I'm just here to be an example, teach by example.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And you have found your place in the world. And yeah, that place will continue growing and changing and shifting and morphing. But the main thing is that, yeah, like you said, you've taken responsibility for your happiness.
Yep.
And that has created so much. And yeah, and you're also got so much faith in life that you've let go of control and you allow life to take you where it wants to take you, including with your agency. It's not like you're absent of agency. Like you're also, grounded human being taking responsibility for your happiness. So I feel like this interview today, I do feel like it will catalyze things for the audience. I do. I feel like it's quite thought-provoking and maybe turn things on their heads for people and maybe have people think about things a little bit differently, potentially, so that they find their own place in the world.
Yeah, we're all deserving of it.
Yeah.
Everyone deserves to be happy. No one more than anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that would be a wonderful achievement.
Yes. Yes. So there we go. We sprinkle the magic dust for that to occur. Thank you so much for your generosity once again and being with us.
It was my absolute pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. And I just adore you. So I'm excited to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Suzie. Hey guys, if you love this podcast, I have 2 requests. Number 1, sign up to the newsletter, which you can find in the show notes. Sharing is one of my superpowers, and there is only so much that I can share through the medium of podcasting. And I have very big plans this year to be radically generous to you. So sign up to that newsletter where you'll be able to receive a whole lot more that I trust will be super valuable to you. And number 2, I'm a massive referrer of the people I love to the people I love. Please share this episode or podcast with the people you love, and let's create some more breathtaking ripples of impact.